It's Michigan week, Paul.
It is Michigan week. We are going to play Michigan.
Yep. I don't think anyone's heard, but we're going to talk Michigan here in a second. But first, everyone, guess what? We have another promo for you. So join Inside Texas for another flash sale this week. 50% off annual memberships if billed annually. So $4.99 per month. Use promo code HOOK'em, and you will be able to get the best content, opponent previews, recruiting news, team news, all the good stuff. So use promo code HOOK'em and join the group. Link in the description, y'all. You'll be able to check that out. And then also the usual housekeeping stuff. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Join InsideTexas.com. Use that promo code. And then on today's show, y'all, very quick Colorado State observation, stuff we're going to need to carry into Michigan type stuff. And then we will break down the Michigan offense, Michigan defense. And then at the end, we will do opponent games of interest. All right, Paul, let us begin. And we got that quick, 1:30. Normally it takes me like 3 minutes to get through the intro. All right, so Colorado State, super quick observations. We're going to spend 3 minutes on it type thing. What'd you get from it?
52-0. 77 guys played. We had guys playing who were, third team on the depth chart by the third quarter. That's what you want. A complete performance on both sides of the ball. The most encouraging thing that I saw from our defense was not just the play of the pass defense, but also how cohesive the defense looked. Gang tackling, everyone populating the football, as they like to say. And, of course, everyone playing really hard, mistake-free. Texas, I think, had 3 penalties, and 2 of them were on Jake Majors for snap infractions. So, I mean, that's clean game of football. Good execution on both sides. Didn't really show much. And the things that we did show, we wanted Michigan to see, so they had to prep for it. And is there a direct carryover of how we played pass defense and the fact that we rolled out a dime and did stuff like that? Is there carryover to Michigan? No, not directly. Right. Is there a bigger picture carryover that our staff is going to start game planning a little more aggressively, game by game, particularly on defense? Yeah, that was my takeaway for Colorado State. And I think you can project that forward to Michigan and even beyond that. Maybe not Louisiana Monroe, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, Connor.
Yeah, they're gonna be very tough. But
you might play with 10 against Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah. Well, like you said, we took away. That was a passing offense. We took away the passing part. In the past, we've kind of just not been opponent specific on our game plan, and so it was nice. Now, here's the flip side. All the fans are like, our run defense is in shambles. How will we ever recover from this? And the reality is, the longest run was 13 yards. They had another 12-yarder. But we were trying to – the coaches were clearly tired of hearing all offseason that our secondary was getting torched last year. And so they went and did that. And we're number 2 in the nation behind Alabama for opponent yards per pass now. So we really shut down a passing offense with an early first-round receiver and a good quarterback. We made them not look so hot. But that was my takeaway. And like you said, the cohesiveness – not a lot of busts, and just team speed, man. We looked fast out there, and that was something that I wasn't that used to. So first off, Jacob, thank you for the super chat.
He actually has a question.
He
get it in the super chat. He has it right after. There you go.
If Paul is Batman and Ian is Robin, who is Homer Alfred?
He's Superman in my book. He's part of the Justice.
No, I can be Alfred. That's like a facilitator, like a Steve Nash role. We're able to hand off to the talent there, let you guys go and fight crime. So I'm okay with Alfred, and especially like if they do some trendy remake in 3 years where Alfred is some like cyberpunk.
Alfred will be like the woman.
yeah. That's
will be Alfreda.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the upcoming Batman. And then what's up with Major's penalties? I said yesterday when I was talking to Eric. You shouldn't have the penalties, but also I think there's a cost to being such a motion-heavy offense. When you have H-backs just sprinting behind you 24/7 and it's loud, I think you get a little jumpy and false starty. So I think there's a cost you pay with that much motion, but still it's too frequent and too often, especially for his age. So
just don't move the ball.
Yeah.
Don't move the ball until you hear the second
He has the normal habit too of where he'll move it a little forward.
Yes.
And that kind of stuff. There's just once it's there, just stick it right there. And then how does that keep happening? I don't know. It's clearly maybe it's anticipatory. He's ready for some big nose to try to knock him over, but it was kind of tricky. All right, so
don't do it on 4th and 1 anymore. How about that?
Right. And then UM has 150 yards rushing. How confident are y'all that we win? Well, we will actually tell you what we think about Michigan here shortly. But first, here comes LC with the ad read.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512 or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
There we go. Take a shot every time you hear a number in that ad read.
That's right.
All right, so let's just get straight into it, man. Michigan offense, and then fans, keep it coming in the comments and we will answer anything you have. But first, let's talk about Michigan offense. So those questions that'll help keep us on track so we're not flying around. You want to start with quarterback or you want to start with offensive line?
We can start with quarterback. Let's start with the glamour position.
Okay, let's do it. So Davis Warren got the start over Alex Orji. Clearly, the fans and the coaching staff wanted Alex Orji to win that job. He did not win that job. And I was telling you before the show that Sharon Moore had an interesting sentence whenever he was in his press conference. And he said that Alex Orji did not completely lose that job.
Yeah. In poker, that is known as a tell.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like he said he didn't completely lose it, but there's clearly a portion there where he lost that job. And then Davis Warren, he spoke glowingly about him. You got to root for the kid's life story. Incredible stuff. But he spoke very glowingly of him and basically said, we're going to see Warren grow a lot. And so what did you kind of see from him game one? My initial stuff was, as long as that slot slant was there and he knew pre-snap where he was throwing it, very solid. As soon as it was time for second and third reads, we saw a little bit of hesitation, a little bit of nervousness. It was game one for him to ever start.
Yeah, it was an incredibly conservative game plan. The whole goal was for him to go out there and get his feet wet. More than just not showing anything, I think it was more just don't outright lose the football game, Davis. And we'll see if we can progress the passing game over time. Yeah. He was 15 of 25 for 118 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. As you said, very risk-averse passing game. If it didn't show right after the snap of the ball, he was a little bit lost. Frankly, the Michigan receivers, and I mean specifically the wide receivers, didn't do much to help him. They were non-factors in the game. They look like Jags, to be honest. They look like guys that if they transferred to Texas, they'd be third team on our depth chart. So Colston Loveland is the exception to that.
Real deal.
He would be first team on our depth chart, and we would be throwing the ball to him about 80 times this year. But he was very impressive. I think he was responsible for like 81 of their 118 passing yards or something like that.
He accounted for more than half of the team's total targets.
That's right. I thought, frankly, the quarterback is going to be a challenge for them. Alex Orji did play. Mm-hmm. He did carry the ball. He was very effective as sort of a wildcat ball carrier.
Yeah.
There's a reason that they don't let him throw, and there's a reason that he lost the quarterback job.
Right.
That said, we are going to see a wildcat package from him in this game. He's a big, strong, physical runner, and when he does run option, he keeps it.
I know that was the cracking me up, dude, because he would come in for one single play, and I'm like, guys, they're not bringing him in to hand it off.
No,
and so he would zone read, pull it, and Fresno State would look like shocked every time. And I'm like, guys, if he's in the game, he's not just going to hand it off. It makes no sense, no matter what the read is.
Did you want to talk about Colston Loveland a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So remember that drive towards the end of the game where Michigan actually started getting a little nervous and had to actually use some plays. And so as they were in the red zone, and Colson Loveland, I can't remember if it was a nickel or safety or what, but he had incredible footwork. He was able to, they had inside leverage on him. He was still able to get around and inside to them. Good grab, made the touchdown for him. He has really good movement skills, really precise feet for being a tight end and being that size. So I think he's awesome, man, and he's going to be a real problem for us, and really the guy you want to bracket in the coverage.
He is the only physical mismatch on their offense that I find that concerns me. And I think, look, he's going to be a high first round or early second round draft pick when he does come out. Really impressive guy. The Michigan receivers, again, I can't emphasize the degree to which they were unimpressive. These are just Jags. And I think Jahdae Barron and Malik Muhammad can shut them down. And I think
we can play man, which is going to be nice.
I think we can play man, and I think we can drop a safety.
Yeah.
And I think that can really cause some problems. I think we can also play Michigan stays in conventional offensive sets, or they try to go big on us. We can go straight 4-3. And then we can drop a safety, and we can slant our defensive line and bring it and cause some disruption and dare them to beat us over the top. And frankly, I would like for them to try, because I think Muhammad and Barron play the ball so much better than what we've had previously. And I think it's going to be a winning recipe if we can hold up and not make stupid errors.
Yeah. And that's what's going to be interesting, right? They didn't do anything that advanced. They were pretty spready, though, in game one. And really, they're about 11 personnel half the time anyways. We just kind of hear Michigan always plays big, but really that's just like 50% of the time. But it is going to be interesting of, is it going to be 12 and 13 personnel, or are they going to try to spread us out? I don't know. I would hope they go bigger personnel, but we'll see.
Yeah, I did want to touch on the running backs and the offensive line. The running backs first. So when Donovan Edwards was first debuted, at least for me, in 2022, he was averaging 7.5 yards a carry. Yeah. And he was their explosive, big play, running back. You remember he had some big runs against Ohio State. He would gouge people for these big 70-yard touchdowns. And I was like, wow, why does Donovan Edwards not get as much play as Blake Corum? I mean, Edwards is more physically talented. Mm-hmm. Well, I realized the answer over time, and this is something I think that's been realized about Edwards. Last year, he averaged 3.5 yards a carry. He was really de-emphasized. This first debut game, 11 carries, 27 yards, 2.5 yards per carry. The deal on Edwards apparently is that he's a head case, and that if he doesn't experience success early in the game, he gets all up in his head and gets up in his feelings, and he sort of becomes unplayable. So that happened against Fresno State. Michigan took him out. They put in a guy who looked more like a Michigan running back. In terms
Khalil Mullings, he's big body,
6'2", 220.
No, 233. Yeah. Well, listed 233.
Oh, he is. Okay, big guy. And he runs like it. And so he came in, gave them a spark. I suspect we'll see them share time. And if Edwards has early success, they'll keep giving him the ball. If he doesn't, I think they'll go to that other guy.
Yeah, so that's kind of the big thing with Edwards. I'm doing my breakdown, and like you said, 2.5 yards per carry, but he's also really, really bad with yards after contact per attempt. So he only got 1.64 yards after contact per attempt. He's not a good inside runner. He's good outside. He's quick, man. He's kind of, if you point him through an open hole, you'll do great. But as far as being inside runner and having people put hands on him, he's fourth to last if added to the SEC in yards after contact per attempt. So on the flip side, Khalil Mullings averaged 6.1 yards per attempt in game one with a nice 4.27 yards after contact. So and he got more touches, but to me, Khalil is your starting running back.
I think they have to make that move. I don't know how the staff has been, frankly, that patient with Edwards. But to your point, if you bust, particularly at the second level, if you bust basically just holding your gap and he gets a straight run through a gap, he accelerates and he's gone. Mm-hmm. So that's something we have to be considerate of. Tell you what, the Michigan offensive line, the brand has taken a hit so far this year because they had to replace 5 offensive line starters, and boy, they looked like it. They They brought in some transfers. They've got some homegrown guys. They don't look like they've gelled. They don't have that level of physicality that you expect. And they weren't great at sort of passing off blocks. And a lot of Michigan and their running game is coordinated, just like all modern college running games. But theirs particularly because they have so many looks. And they'll come out in 13, 3 tight ends. And that creates extra gaps that you have to defend. Mm-hmm. And then they'll do combo blocks and they'll have a guy pull and they'll time it all up and they get these big holes. They're not executing that, at least last week. That said, I guarantee you they held stuff back, but holding stuff back, you still shouldn't lose at the point of attack.
You have to, yeah. That's the thing that'll drive me nuts. It's like your core concepts are your core concepts. You're going to run counter. If counter looks ugly versus Fresno State, you weren't like, hey man, make sure we get 1 yard on this run.
Yeah.
Your core concepts are your core concepts. So of course they're going to add more scheme and more wrinkles, but if you're having trouble getting push, you're having trouble getting push. And Fresno State is a good team, but it's not a Power 4 team.
Yeah, and so they are a Mountain West team, just like Colorado State.
Yep.
They would be considered probably the number one, along with UNLV, the main Mountain West contender to Boise State, who seems like the runaway, champion potentially. Big game for them against Oregon coming up, so that'll be fun as well.
Yeah. So offensive line, of course, is game 1. They're all starting together. Their head coach is former offensive line. They're going to get better. They're going to gel, but that's tough. That's tough to play Texas in week 2 when you're unsure of. And they had a couple battles go really down to the wire. Right tackle and center. Evan Link, people weren't expecting him to get the start. And that was on the Michigan side when I was watching all their stuff through camp and even at center. So it's interesting too. It really came down to the wire on several of those things. And I'm trying to think, is there anything else offensively that you thought was – they're clearly, man, J.J. McCarthy made a lot of things right last year. So losing a first-round quarterback, that's going to be a huge difference. Play action game, if they run successfully, they can try to throw it over the top. I think we have the speed to match up with everyone. So one player I did want to talk about, let me pull up his information real quick. Slot Samaj Morgan. So he is their speed guy.
We saw this. Homer and I were laughing at this earlier when we looked this up.
Yeah, he's their speed guy, and he only got 4 targets, catching 2, but he does the jet motion kind of stuff, drags, screens, crossers, that kind of stuff seems. But what's interesting is I looked up his 100-meter time, expecting, like mid-10s, low 10s from how he was being spoken about. But really, his verified 100-meter was 11.8, which is, for me and Paul, would rip our hamstrings off the bone. But when we're talking for actual like elite athletes, 11.8 is, for a speed receiver, is not that impressive. So he is really shifty in traffic. I've seen him. He has good vision. When he's on those screens and it's all muddy, he's able to kind of move through all of that. That's impressive. He does get up to speed quickly. But, on the Michigan side, they keep talking about this guy as like, kind of their speed guy. And 11.8 is, if that's your speed guy, man, you're going to have some issues.
Yeah, there's got to be something more to that story because that's like track times you see for 8th graders in Texas.
Yeah.
And you'll see like 20 of them have that. So,
yeah,
there's got to be something more to that story. Maybe the dude was like running in a potato sack or something like that.
Yeah,
but
there has to be, because I remember I was just like 11.8. I was like,
yeah,
Michigan's is that Big Ten speed we've been talking about?
Yeah, there's got to be more to that story. But the bottom line is, I think they're the biggest drop-offs, frankly, on that Michigan offense is J.J. McCarthy to Davis Warren. And I think –
No, I mean 11.8.
Yeah. No, we've looked it up. Look it up, guys.
Here we go. I'll share you guys.
Yeah, we'll share it to prove it.
Yeah, 1 second.
But, the biggest drop-off is a quarterback, obvious. That's obvious, but I think wide receiver is actually as big a drop-off. Roman Wilson and Corn Dog were good for them. They were both NFL draft picks. I think Roman Wilson was like a 3rd rounder, but I just thought he was really big for them last year in some key moments, and they just don't have anything approximating that. So, yeah.
Getting this is my fun Chrome going on here. Trying to share that tab.
Are you doing picks or it didn't happen?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up, but like for whatever reason, it's like freezing up on me. So whatever.
All right. Well, Google is available on everybody's computer. Feel free to look it up.
Go on athletic.net, type in Samaj Morgan, and you'll be able to see. Let me see. And you'll be able to see it. It's 11.84, so not even 11.8 flat. All right, guys, we have any more questions? Can moonwalk 11.8? Yep. Any more questions?
Question for you, Homer.
What's up?
If you want to buy a house or refi a house, given that interest rates are dropping in Texas and across this great nation, who's the guy that we need to be calling?
Paul, I believe we should contact Gabe Winslow.
That is the correct answer. And that number is 832-557-1095. You want to talk to Gabe Winslow because he's got over 20 years in the industry. He's a diehard Longhorn. He's a really sharp guy, has a law degree, former National Merit Scholar, and he is excellent at what he does. And here's something very interesting. A bug was put in my ear recently with interest rates dropping and looking to drop a little more. If you recently bought a house in the last 2 years and you maybe bought it a little bit of a higher interest rate, call Gabe right now and find out how you can refi your current rate for free. That's right, for free. I want you to run to your phone and dial in those numbers faster than Samaj Morgan. I don't want you to do it at 11.84. I want you to do it at a 10.15. You need to talk to Gabe, 832-557-1095. Find out how you can refi your house for free. Or if you're in the market for a house, find out why he is the best guy to have in your corner to get this done.
Good stuff. And also, sorry, Samaj Morgan. I'm sure you're a great guy.
He's going to bust a 97-yard.
I know, dude. Exactly, man. Like we're getting clipped so hard. Yeah, he's gonna go for 90 on us, and that's gonna be very obvious. And then Joe Cook, back in the day, the Texas staff with Beck and Herman loved JJ McCarthy. They also loved Card and Quentin Jackson, but they were after JJ before realizing they couldn't pull him out of the Midwest. I actually did not know that. So thank you, Joe. And Joe, keep the fun facts coming, man. Just
hey, Joe, next time make that a super chat.
Yeah, Joe, thank you, please.
Cheapskate.
This is more defensive stuff. All right, guys, we're moving into the defense questions, so hit us up with that. Let's start on the defensive line.
That's a scary place to start.
Exactly.
That is the strength of this.
So Michigan offense, to be frank, not a scary offense. Of course, they're going to be tough, and they're going to come out for Texas. On the flip side, Michigan defense is a formidable foe, and they are solid. So first, let's start kind of run defense interior. They lead the nation right now in opponent rush yards per game, giving up 0.4 yards per rush attempt, which is pretty good, I would think. And some of that is due directly to, well, really their whole front six, but that defensive interior. So, Paul, what do you think of their kind of Sweat and Murphy they got this year?
Total studs, Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. Mason Graham is probably the more complete and more consistent of the two, but they're both scary. They're both going to be, if they're not going to both be first rounders, it'll probably be like Sweat and Murphy, where it's one first rounder and an early second rounder.
Yeah.
Graham is huge. He moves really well. He plays with great leverage, nonstop motor. Grant is more of a flash player. You'll see him do stuff that's absolutely spectacular, and then he'll kind of cruise for a few snaps, and you know, he never gets really beaten, but he's that guy.
I think they are Sweat. I think they are Sweat and Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, there are some similarities.
Yeah.
They don't. Graham, they're both bigger than Murphy, but neither is as big as Sweat. But they're both huge, and they run.
Kenneth Grant has that freak size athleticism mix.
Yeah.
And then Mason Graham is the one that's like super high motor and relentless like Murphy. And so that's what's kind of interesting. I think they comp to our interior as well, which is
well said. And then on the edge, I think the defensive tackles get so much attention that people don't realize that Michigan edges are really good.
Yeah.
I love Josiah Stewart. He was a transfer in from, I think, East Carolina. I can't remember. But he is 6'1", 245, and he plays like he's 6'6", 280 on the edge. He is so physical, really quick guy as well. I think he's going to probably lead them in sacks at the end of the year if he stays healthy. He is just a really tough guy. He lives up to the Wolverine namesake of being a small, savage little animal that fights well above its weight. And there's a reason that, when black bears encounter Wolverines in the wild, they head the other way. So
I think he had 2 sacks versus Fresno State.
He did. He is relentless on the pass rush when he can just pin his ears back. And he's got that quickness. And because he's about 6'1", 250, he plays with an interesting leverage. He can get so low against taller tackles that they're almost having to bend at the waist to sort of get at him. And that's how he doesn't get big brothered. Now, can a guy like Kelvin Banks with great feet and great motor just big brother him? Maybe so. We'll see. That's going to be a fascinating matchup.
It is.
And I really am looking forward to that. The guy on the other side looks like an NFL edge, Derek Moore. He looks like a freaking greyhound out there. He looks the part, 6'5", 260 kind of build. He's good. He is not quite as havoc creating as Josiah Stewart is, but he's a good player. And
he's more your strong side kind of thing. Josiah is more your weak side, real pass rushy type build.
I think that's right. But I've seen Evans Derek Moore lay some really nice pass rushes watching Michigan last year. And he was part of a rotation of a guy who got drafted, and he's going to step in. And, all 4 of these guys, in my opinion, will be drafted.
Yep. I agree. Yeah. That's, the interior absolutely steals the show from this, but the whole defensive line is super solid for them. They perform well in the run game as well. When I looked up their stats, because I was like, hopefully these are just pass rushers. They're not. They do well in the run as well.
Yep.
And so that's going to be important for us. And then second level. So they have Houseman. That was a Nebraska transfer, not last year, but the year prior. And then Jayshawn Barham, he was out of Maryland. And man, Barham looks nice out there. He's 6'3", 248 junior. Starter for them last year, I believe. He played 478 snaps for Maryland last year. And just a nice looking player, man. Big, physical, fast. Houseman too. I mean, the linebacking core is solid as well. That front six that's a good front six, man.
Yeah, the Maryland transfer Barham just looks amazing on the hoof. I mean, he looks like an NFL linebacker. He's a great blitzer, and that's going to be scary in addition to that front 4 bringing it. I think that when we're watching both he and Houseman on film, I think Sark is very interested in getting them matched up in space on our running backs or even on a wide receiver on a little drag. If Amari Niblack can get one of those guys in coverage in certain looks, or if Martindale brings the house, that will be very interesting. And I think they're guys that can be very disruptive, but I think they're guys who actually in some ways we're going to target.
Okay. Yeah, I know that like pass rush and stuff, they love to put Barham up on the center and get one-on-ones. Then he'll drop quick. They like to simulate. They like to go hyper aggressive, get you nervous, and then start dropping guys out. And so they want the quarterback and offensive line overthinking everything. And that's going to be what's really interesting for this team. And then looking at the secondary, Will Johnson, of course, first-round corner projection. Good player. Got tested, surprisingly, Fresno State. Are you familiar with that receiver that was getting yards on him?
Fresno State has 2 good receivers. Okay. Jalen Carter is kind of their star. He gave Michigan some problems, but the other guy got him. They actually got him. So what they were doing is they were putting Will Johnson on a complete island, one-on-one, and I mean literally no help, and then slanting coverage to those side. Because for a while, Fresno State was throwing the ball around on him a little bit with Mike Keene. Mm-hmm. They got him on a double move for a touchdown. They tried to duplicate that later in the game, and Will Johnson got him for a pick 6, 84 yards, I think.
Yeah.
And I think Michigan had another interception, and then they had another interception that was canceled out by a penalty. So
yeah, they had 2 on the same drive, and it got taken back, and then they just picked it again.
Yes. So once Michigan ramps up their pressure and they kind of know what you're trying to do in the passing game, you get predictable. They jump routes. They're not shy about it. That said, the secondary is the weakness of this defense, and that's a relative weakness, but it is the weakness because they lost a bunch of guys. I love that Michigan defense last year. It was a pleasure to watch them play. And I think my favorite guy might have been Mike Sandstrom, who is now gone to the NFL. He was their nickel, led them in interceptions. He sort of led them in like timely plays in the secondary. He would always would provide whatever they needed at the moment. He's gone. They lost several other guys who were NFL guys. And then they had 3 guys that they were really counting on to either start or be major depth before the season. 2 of them transferred. One of them, Keon Saab, is starting at Bama. Yep. Another one transferred to Kentucky, and he is, I think, their 3rd corner. And then another gentleman, Rod Moore, blew out his knee.
Right.
So those are 3 guys. 2 of them at least were starting, and now they had to go further down the depth chart. So if we can attack their other corner, if we can attack their other safety, and I think we should attack their nickel, I think you've got to find there's going to be this tension for Texas between spreading the field as much as possible, flooding the field with receivers while still protecting Ewers. And so the more we can attack those tertiary coverage guys for Michigan in their secondary that they try to hide and disguise with their coverages, the more Texas is going to gouge them for big plays. But the more we expose ourselves to spreading the field, the more likely it is that Josiah Stewart is going to have a sack fumble on Ewers.
Yep. And I really like them on the perimeter. I thought they were aggressive and fast. When people were throwing screens, they were flying to the ball. They're also hyper aware in the tip drill.
Yes.
Just really good coaching. Like, as that ball got tipped, like, frankly, we're still kind of lacking there. We're not like waiting for it to get tipped. It got tipped versus Fresno State, and they were right on it. So they move fast. As soon as the ball is thrown, they get there. But also we have crazy track speed all over the place, and they can play awesome zone. Quinn is elite in the intermediate game, so he can still throw over that second level and in front of those safeties if we don't just send Bond directly deep.
Yeah, the names that you guys should be aware of that we want to try to pick on: Jair Hill, that's the corner opposite of Will Johnson, and Zeke Berry, that's the nickel.
Yep.
He looked good to me. He got a pick in that game, but he is not Mike Sandstrom. And then Makari Page is a returning starter. He's a big safety. He's rangy, and he's really good when they sort of play big over the top, like they put the cap over the top. He's like 6'4".
Yeah, he's 6'4".
long.
Yeah.
He's hard to throw over when he's just standing there. But if you can get him on the move, he's not going to – he can't cover Matthew Golden on the run. So those are the guys we're going to be targeting. And then, as I said, there's going to be this tension with those linebackers of, hey, you want to blitz us, you're going to make some plays, and you're going to inflict some negatives on us. But if we can get you in space on Jaden Blue, Amari Nyblack, even Juan Davis, we think you're going to be in trouble.
But also, too, like, so if we're scheming, right, we're wink. We know that Quinn has a super high pressure to sack rate, does not do well navigating the pocket historically.
Yep.
And then his blitz throws also go down. So that's the tricky part, right? This is the test for Quinn. Quinn, did you grow up? Are you NFL ready? Because I'm sending heat at Quinn. Just statistically, it tells me I'm sending guys. So can Quinn ID it? Can we get those quick routes? How timed up are we? Sometimes it looks like Quinn struggles to see over the line, and anybody would when you're surrounded by 6'6" guys. But when he's up in the pocket, he seems like vision can be lost a little bit. So I'm sending dudes against Quinn. He's going to have to show me that he's improved there.
Yeah, I think another thing to bring up, look, Michigan's goal in this game is to run clock. It's to make the game as short as possible. They want 60 plays to be run on both sides of the ball, right?
No.
And they want to deprive us of possessions because they believe the more possessions we have, the likelier it is down the stretch that Sark will figure it out.
Yeah.
Our players on the field will figure it out, and we'll start hitting big balls. See Alabama last year, right? 21 points in the fourth quarter.
I also forgot we are dealing with week 2 Quinn right now. So that week 2 Quinn is elite. Alabama last year and then Alabama the year before. Quinn shows up in week 2, man.
Oh, that's the theory. Week 2.
Yeah, I believe that week 2 Quinn is is when he's at his best form.
That's elite analysis. Good job, Connor.
Yeah.
Hey, one guy I did want to mention, Michigan is not quite as deep as they were last year. Duh. I mean, they lost all these dudes from their defense to the NFL. But their number 3 defensive tackle is a guy named Rayshon Benny.
Mm-hmm.
He actually flashed against Fresno State. He's not as big as Grant and Graham, but he's actually kind of like a hustle guy. And also, I mean, he's talented as well. He's not like, he's not Rudy, but he was very impressive in his snaps. He's their 3rd defensive tackle. But I will say that Michigan's defense can't quite do the hockey line shifts that they did last year to stay rosy fresh for every moment of the game. So there are going to be some opportunities for us to attack them, particularly if we can extend a drive 8, 9, 10, 11 plays. Michigan, we have the chance to get them a little worn out and maybe slow down that pass rush.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. We have Quinn throws well against the blitz.
He does not.
He throws middle of the pack. So
no, he actually, that's his weakest asset against anything in terms of, or is it weakest attribute, I should say, in terms of a passer. Waves deep. I can tell you didn't buy my Thinking Texas Football preview because I write about 2,500 words breaking down Quinn situationally in every context, and his weakest metrics are against the blitz.
Yeah, and he's 8th out of 15 quarterbacks from last year in the Big 12 when blitzed. So not horrible, but definitely has a big effect on him. So I'm definitely going to test Quinn in that regard. You guys have any questions specifically on the defense you guys think we missed or you're curious about? Anything like that, you guys let us know. But that's going to be the strength of their team. It's going to be interesting. What do you think? How do we match up run game?
Our offense running the ball?
Yep.
If we run for over 100, I'll be happy.
So will I. But
it will have to happen probably late. I think,
right.
or we pop a run or something like that. I mean, we're not going 8 yards a carry.
Well, even last year, our defensive success rate, how consistent we were as a running team was not great. Wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And we kind of had to rely on the explosiveness of Brooks to hit an 80-yarder, Blue to hit an 80-yarder, that kind of stuff. So I want to see if we're like that this year as well, where we struggle to down, but Jaden Blue's also fast as hell. And so he'll break a 70-yarder. That's going to be.
I did want to say this, and not to be hypercritical, but Jaden Blue needs to bring it. He needs to show up. He is the bell cow back, and he's cramping out after 31 plays. He needs to prepare his body, and he needs to hydrate and eat right and not stay out late and do the things that he needs to do to warm up and stretch and all that. We can't have our lead back cramping out after 30 snaps. That's just not acceptable.
I like Jarrett Gibson.
I like Jarrett Gibson. He is proof. Anyone who is a aspiring running back, if you're a young kid out there or a young man, if you keep north-south, you have good feet, and you run compact and strong, good things happen in the running game. Everyone gets all fired up about running backs with their stats and how they look in shorts and the underwear Olympics. But Jarrett Gibson is proof that if you have good feet and you move north-south and you stay nice and compact and you keep your pads down, those yards just seem to find you in the running game.
Running back pass protection is going to be interesting this game as well.
If Jarrett Gibson can pass pro, he's a guy I want as part of the rotation, as part of a trio. And I thought Trey Wisner looked shot out of a cannon on most of his carries. So that was fun to see.
We've got Joe Cook. He's a huge fan. He's always trying to hang out with us and all this stuff.
He was instructed to make his comments a super chat. So, Joe, next one needs to be a super chat or we're not reading it.
Texas needed picks from Jahdae Barron and Jaron Thompson last year. I think Davis Warren and Alex Orgy are liable to turn the ball over against this improved secondary. I agree with you. That pick versus Fresno State, I think they had 3 DBs on it. Now, if he would have thrown it farther, it wouldn't have mattered because the receiver was in front of them. But that Fresno State interception was pretty good. And I want to see Davis Warren, right? whenever it gets sketchy, whenever you're under pressure, whenever you have to make the throw, that's when we'll see. And that was that ESPN level analysis there.
Well, we
When it
need
gets
to get
hard,
that guy
well,
into deep water, right? We need to get him into 2nd and 12, 3rd and 9.
Yep.
You know, if Michigan wants to hand the ball off on 3rd and 9 and punt, more power to them. But at some point, they're going to have to try to move the ball and try to show some different features of their team that aren't Colston Loveland. That said, we need to pay a lot of attention to Colston Loveland.
Absolutely. Texas Beats, where is my other stud muffin? Texas Beats has a muffin rating system, muffin rating system. I believe just you and Ian make the cut.
I believe Texas Beats, the top muffin is blueberry.
Yep.
And then it's Ian.
Yep.
And then it's chocolate chip, and then it's me. Those are Texas Beats' 4 favorite muffins. Where is the other stud muffin? Ian is doing mixed martial arts, lifting weights.
He's in the dojo currently.
Probably at the dojo.
Yeah.
Probably getting his testosterone treatments so he could be super amped.
He's listening to the Joe Rogan podcast.
That's right.
Doing TRT. He was on the circuit last week. I can confirm he had a high intensity interval training circuit in the garage. So we're not joking. Ian is training currently. 3rd and 4th down conversion rate. Can you give me a little more specifics there? Who's 3rd and 4th down conversion rate?
I do think we need to acknowledge that 3rd and 4th down conversion rates exist.
Yeah, that is important. Yeah.
Some people say they don't. But
Yeah,
we're here to tell you that there are 3rd and 4th down conversion rates.
yeah.
No, I think. How about this? I think money downs are definitely going to be important.
Mm-hmm.
We can't go 2 of 12 on 3rd down and have a successful outing unless we're just hitting explosives on 1st and 2nd, right and left, right. And I don't think that's going to happen. But I think that's going to be big. I think actually the bigger thing will be, can Michigan control the ball? Because I think Michigan's game plan in some ways will be conservative, but if it's 3rd and 2 at 50, they ain't punting. I think they're going for it. And I think if they're having some success running the ball, they're going to try to possess the ball, and we cannot consent to allow that to happen. And sometimes Pete Kwiatkowski is a little too complacent in allowing the other offense to possess the ball. You cannot do that against Michigan. We have to get our offense the ball in this game.
Yeah, we can't do the bend but don't break. Just do the break them part. Dante Payne, incredible name. Are you concerned about our edges not getting a sack against Colorado State? Here you go, Paul. I know you got to take on this. Go for it.
No, thank you for the question, Dante, and thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it, man. I'm not. The reason is Colorado State only threw the ball 24 times. They only had 12 dropbacks that were even contestable, meaning the other 12, the ball hit his hands and he threw. There's nothing we can do. Von Miller can't get a pressure or a sack against that. The other 12, we had 6 pressures, a batted ball. One of those pressures led directly to an interception. Got a couple of big hits on Nicolosi that I don't think the camera necessarily people saw because it didn't linger.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with what we did against Colorado State. And I think you can see there's a 0 on the scoreboard for a reason. And then we really emphasize pass defense against the team that was averaging about 270 yards passing a game last year. We held them to 79. So
5th most pass attempts in the nation last year.
Look, if Davis Warren holds the ball, I assure you we will have sacks and hits on the quarterback.
Yeah, and Davis Warren, I mean, last if added to the SEC in time to throw. So he's getting it out quick. But if they want to score on time, I mean, they're going to have to play action. So it's like they're going to have to hold it. So that's going to be the tricky part. But I agree with Paul. When I was kind of nervous just looking at the box score, like 0 sacks, what's going on? Upon rewatch, whenever they did actually drop back, we were causing a lot of issues. And then, Paul, you read me like a book, darling, from old Texas Beats. You
Nice.
too, get a room, right?
I know.
And then do you want to pull up the kind of the game on paper breakdown, or you want to go to opponent games of interest?
We can do opponent games of interest, or you can pull this up real quick if you want to do the breakdown. I think people always like your stuff, Homer. Come on.
That's not my stuff. This is just game on paper. This is just to give quick view. My stuff is coming out probably on Thursday.
Nice.
So this is just quick, y'all. This is actually last year, but you can just see green is good, right? This is going to be a strong matchup. Um, it's really that simple. The only issue that we really had last year was our third and fourth down success, 89th in the country. That's improved. So really, I just wanted you guys to see a lot of pretty green. This is a super good matchup. But of course, Michigan's not going to be as green on offense. There's going to be some significant downgrading there. I think their defense will still really show out. I don't know about secondary. Secondary right now is 34th in the nation in opponent yards per pass. Last year, I believe they were 6th. I know they were top 10. So you're going to have some downgrading there. But this is always a great website. I use this for my breakdowns called Game on Paper. Y'all should check it out. It does really good breakdowns, and you can kind of see where teams are at. So I really just honestly wanted to plug these guys. Now, let us go on to opponent games of interest. So not as cool this week, admittedly, as far as there's no Texas A&M and Notre Dame type matchups. But if you're a fan of advanced scouting, like our good friend Connor Stallions,
Yes.
shout out him. Shout out that documentary. I honestly like that guy after watching that. I mean, it's stone cold sociopath, but as far as being effective and liking Michigan, very impressive. But also, if he was into anything other than football, that's a very dangerous human being. If he wanted to get into politics, he would be a dictator in like 4 months. You got to watch that guy. But here's the opponent games of interest this week. Let's get our view. So Arkansas, Oklahoma State. Arkansas looked awesome, man. Their run game looked awesome. Now they're facing Arkansas Pine Bluff, which is not the cream of the crop, and they had turned over their whole roster on top of that as well. So I thought they would get a little bit better than 8.5. But what do you think, Paul?
No. So Arkansas Pine Bluff, that game literally means nothing. DeSoto would have probably given them a better game. So Arkansas Pine Bluff is a bottom 10 FCS school. Oklahoma State, by contrast, played the defending FCS champion, the runaway champion, South Dakota State, and beat them convincingly by 24 points. To make it simple, if South Dakota State played Arkansas Pine Bluff on a neutral field, the line would be in the 30s.
Yeah, I agree.
So people saw that and they kind of look and go, oh, both played FCS opponents, but Arkansas blew them out.
Right.
No, Oklahoma State's win was more impressive, even if you adjust for opponent quality. I actually like Oklahoma State in this game. I think it will be a good game and pretty competitive, though.
Cool. And then interesting one, when I was looking it up this morning, getting everything ready for the show, UTSA is actually going up against Texas State, and Texas State is the favorite. Of course, that offense is super fun at Texas State, what they did to Baylor last year. It's been impressive. Trailer was kind of the next thing, but what is it? I'm going to mess up his name. J.G. Kinney.
G.J. Kinney.
There we go. Is going to be the kind of the next coach that's going to come out of Texas State that we got to watch for. And I went to high school with their offensive coordinator, so they have a really fun offense at Texas State. But we're about to play UTSA. What do you get from this?
Good game, good matchup in that league. This has some implications for G5 more broadly. If UTSA and Texas State are seen as dark horses for that qualifying bid, so this will be interesting for them. I'll be watching UTSA. They had a kind of a slow debut against Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State's a run option team. They sort of ran clock on them, and UTSA rolled up and down the field, but didn't always convert it into touchdowns. I'm interested in seeing McCown's development as a passer. I think that's really big for UTSA because UTSA for G5, they're more physical than your typical G5 school.
Yeah.
And Trailer's, done a phenomenal job there. So it's just a question of what job comes open eventually that he decides to make the leap.
Yeah, I worry that he might have, I don't want him to overstay his welcome. I don't want him to kind of Matt Campbell it. I wish he would have gone out really with Harris and been able to promote from there, because I just don't want it to be where he falls off, because he's a damn good coach. Then we have the Oklahoma Sooners versus Houston. So Oklahoma if you look at the score from last week, really good score. But if you look at Oklahoma's numbers, they were sketchy, man.
Yes.
Worse on third down. That was not a good performance. Those are the kind of performances that lull fans to sleep, and then you get exposed week 5 or whatever. Those numbers for Oklahoma were not good. Do not trust the score on that game at all. They're going to beat Houston like a drum, but still, Oklahoma has some serious holes in their game right now.
Yeah, Connor, I was going to say, don't trust the score on this game either. Houston is uniquely terrible. I thought they would be really bad. I bet they're under on their win total. I bet heavily against them. UNLV, they hosted UNLV, and UNLV trashed them. Even more than the score suggests. I think it was 27-7 at the end, but UNLV was in control of that game from the start to the finish. And Houston is bad. Oklahoma's going to blow them out, and people are going to pronounce them bright and everything's solved. But Houston's really, really bad. Yeah, it's unfortunate. But all of our old Big 12 Texas teams ain't looking so hot right now.
Yeah.
What else we got?
I was just thinking of Texas Tech. Yeah, whenever you said that.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Mississippi State, Arizona State, 4.5 point favorites. I have yet to watch Mississippi State this season, so I really don't have anything of intelligent inclusion. Paul, do you?
They blew out Eastern Kentucky in their opener. Obviously, Levy rolled it up because he's got to get that offense moving. He's got to get some excitement in Starkville. Mississippi State has a pretty friendly non-con, and then it gets increasingly terrible for them as they play SEC. Everyone talks about Florida's schedule, which is daunting, and it's going to look even more daunting after that Miami blowout.
Yeah,
but Mississippi State's up there as well, and I just think they're going to have a tough year. These are kind of equivalent teams. Arizona State blew out Wyoming. Wyoming threw away the game in the first 3 minutes. But yeah, that'll be an interesting matchup. I think Mississippi State's going to be able to move the ball. Ultimately, their defense is going to betray them as they play better competition.
And then we got ULM, who we were not supposed to play, but had to schedule them quickly for the SEC stuff, getting an extra preseason game. So ULM is going to play UAB. UAB is 11.5 point. Now, we have General Booty, right, at starting quarterback at ULM right now?
Yeah, we don't have specific ass. We have General Booty.
Yeah.
So ULM is really bad. They got a win, though, against the SWAC team last week. UAB and the Fighting Dilfers are Trent Dilfer is one of the most irritating coaches in college football.
I agree 100%.
If you listen to his press conferences, they're absurd. But yeah, I mean, UAB is going to beat them. ULM's not good, and that's going to be a good rest game for us, and you'll play a bunch of people and feel good when we play them eventually.
So are they like historically one of the worst? Like whenever we played them last time, they were like 125th in like every rankings. Do you think they're like they can get to like 80th, or do you think they're just bad?
They're bad. If you guys read my Thinking Texas Football preview, I did a big breakdown of them and tried to provide some context of their sad, woeful history of football. But they had a season back in the 90s that they call the magical season in their media guide. And they went 8-5, finished second in the league, and lost in their bowl game by 30 points to Ohio Bobcats. So that was their magical season. So
it was
just some idea.
The last breakdown we did of them, I was watching their head coach, Bowden, and it was just the scale of teams are crazy. So he was running around town just like trying to garner support, and it was like 8 people at a diner for their events, you know. And I was like, man, that's tough to build there.
Yeah, Bowden's out though. They've got a new coach, new guy. He's going to fix it all.
Right. Yeah, certainly. And then we have Kentucky, who is going to be a good team, man, versus South Carolina. South Carolina, of course, disappointing. South Carolina is kind of doing it to themselves at this point. It seems like every year they're supposed to finally rise and become dominant, but not yet.
That storyline has been going on for 25 years in South Carolina, Connor. Yeah, they were supposed to have – this was going to be the breakout year, and they've got this new quarterback, and they went to the wire with Old Dominion at home. So not good. And Kentucky – man, they've got some guys. They've got some dudes. They've got multiple NFL guys on that defense. They've got 2 NFL-level receivers. The big question is Brock Vandegrift up to snuff at quarterback, the transfer from Georgia, former 5-star? He appears to be at least average to above average, and he might be better than that. So Kentucky, that is a team all of y'all need to keep your eye on in the SEC, not as a conference winner, but as a big spoiler and agent of chaos. And I think they're going to be interesting and a team we don't want to look past, even though we're hosting them later in the season.
Absolutely. Have you already talked A&M Notre Dame on another show?
A little bit. I'm happy to talk about the Aggies anytime anybody wants to.
Yeah, that was I was telling Eric yesterday on our show that I don't know why they did this to themselves. They have some smart analysts on YouTube, like actually reasonable guys, not just sycophants. And I was watching their breakdowns and I was like, why are you guys doing this to yourself? I was like, it's week. Like, just be fair to yourself. It's week 1 versus Notre Dame. You have a new staff. I know you got dudes. I know you got NFL guys, but that doesn't matter if everything's not buttoned up. And I was like, y'all are just emotionally doing this to yourselves. And it seemed like people were discounting, general people were discounting, like they didn't talk about Notre Dame's defense. I constantly heard about A&M's defense, but clearly Notre Dame did a good job there. They're kind of back to now it's the early setback. Have you seen the A&M roller coaster graphic?
Yes.
They're in the early setback phase now. I've heard some people be like, we can still go 10-2. You guys will not be going 10-2. But that was an interesting game, man. And it's still going to be a hell of a game when we play them the last game, but they just hurt their own feelings at this point. I don't know why they do this.
Well, the A&M hype was very helpful to me because I bet Notre Dame and won a bunch of money. And I also bet the under, which I felt very good about 3 minutes into that game. Connor Wegman went 12 of 30 for 100 yards, dude. They don't have good receivers. Yeah, the scheme may not be great. Connor Wegman's not good. And if you saw the feature on him on game day, let's just say that there's other stuff going on with that young man that he needs to address. Yeah. I don't think he's very comfortable in his own skin. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I talked to Eric about it yesterday. He just totally shut down the magician. You could just see it was just anxiety, and just generally not how a leader acts. He was just immediately shut down the magician, wouldn't have fun, wouldn't sit down, made it awkward. It was like, dude, it's a magic trick, man. Like, it's a magic trick. You're the quarterback. Have fun, dude. But it also kind of showed that there's some insecurity there, some anxiety there. Whenever it gets intense in a game, I bet it'll show up. And then USC was a fun one too, man.
It was a lot of fun. LSU is an undisciplined, dumb football team, and it made them pay. USC's defense, man, talk about a change from D'Anton Lynn. I mean, he has them playing good defense, and they're sound. They upgraded their personnel a little, but not hugely. I mean, they didn't get a phenomenal. They didn't get Ole Miss's transfers on defense, and they just played good, sound defense, and they tackled, and they bent when they needed to, and they held up when they needed to. And I mean, Miller Moss.
They got a quarterback, man.
If you play within Riley's system and do what he tells you, and don't try to improvise on every play. That's the result. And Miller Moss he's genuinely good. So
he throws a knife.
USC is going to be really fun in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. We're gonna have some good ones with Oregon having their weird game. That's weird, but USC's looks like they're gonna be able to compete with the big dogs. And
guess who Michigan hosts right after us?
Who is it? SC?
SC.
I didn't know that was right after us.
Yeah, they might lose 2 in a row, Connor, and they've won 23 straight.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff, man. Well, anything else, Paul? Any other minor Michigan notes or anything? You feel like we got it?
Well, I think we gave people a good overview, and I think it's gonna be a lot to talk about. Y'all need to join Inside Texas if you want to get into even deeper, secret, hidden knowledge that we don't reveal on the YouTube channel. I feel pretty confident about this game, but it's college football. It's a bunch of 20-year-olds. It's on the road against a good defense, so anything can happen. But as long as Texas keeps their composure and plays really hard and smart, I think we've got a good shot at another big win on the road.
Yep. And to sign up for the site, guys, luckily we got a little deal for you. Promo code HOOK'em, 50% off annual memberships. So you will be able to have a year for half the price, because all of us other dummies, we pay full price, but not you guys. You guys are smart. You guys are businessmen. So take advantage of this offer. Paul, thanks so much for coming on. I always enjoy your analysis on everything, man. You have awesome, insightful, unique angles of how you look at things, man. And fans, thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful day. I'll be back tomorrow with Ian, and we're going to chat more Texas football as usual.
Michigan week, baby. Let's go.
Michigan week. Hook 'em, y'all.